Welcome back to From Rumor to Reality with your host, Darlene Ruger. And today we have a serious topic. Has anyone watched the news today? Today is July the 30th, 2026, on a Thursday. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We're just going to, I know my glasses. Okay, so we're just going to jump into a couple photos. We're going to talk about 2020. Everyone had a shitty 2020. Let's just be real about it. And we all have to thank China. Nope, we don't have to thank China. We all have to thank Dr. Fucci. Yes. So this man has been in court, and I am cracking up and I'm appalled. This MFer get to use the Fifth Amendment throughout his whole court, being charged with holding back secrets from us Americans about the COVID virus. So we're going to start off with the news clip because, frankly, I really don't have much to say about this. I lost a loved one in 2020. I also had the coronavirus 3 times, and I feel some type of way because, yes, I got the fucking vaccine. Yeah, I got the vaccine. But you know why I had to get it? Because I started to be a nurse assistant and I worked at Norristown State Hospital, and it was mandatory in order to get a job there that you had to have the vaccine. Every time I got the vaccine, I got sick. Also, weird things that start happening, but thank God I'm feeling happy and I'm healthy. So, right now, we're just going to get into the clip and we're going to start off with the news. And then, for those who don't know, we're going to just show you um, Fauci when he was younger. He's been doing this for a lot of years, folks. So, without further ado, let's just get into the clip. But I will have a small surprise to make you laugh and ponder. So, just sit back and watch. And thanks again for tuning into From Rumor to Reality.
We got our hands on Dr. Anthony Fauci's diary. And viewer warning, we're going to read from it, and it's going to make you very angry. Now, I know what you're thinking. It feels a little invasive reading another person's diary, but this isn't just anyone. This is a man responsible for devastating lockdowns and for funding the type of experiments that may have caused 1 million American deaths. If there's a theme from this diary, which is over 1,000 pages, it is this. Dr. Anthony Fauci is dishonest, almost always wrong, and is intoxicated with fame. As thousands of Americans were dying every day, here's what America's top doctor wrote, secretly to himself. Dear Diary, the press is going wild with me. It is not a hyperbole to say that today I am the most famous and talked about person in the country.
So it's confirmed that they lied about the coronavirus. And you can see the tweet the White House put out earlier today. It has 50 million views. Now on the website, it states that the virus possessed a biological characteristic that is not found in nature. Social distancing was also completely made up. The whole standing 6 feet apart and wearing masks was completely arbitrary and not backed by science. So shutting down schools and businesses was not even necessary. Now China also originally explained that COVID naturally jumped from an infected animal to a human. However, critics are saying that China hid some very important information. It's very possible that a researcher was accidentally infected while studying bat coronaviruses at a Wuhan lab that then allowed the virus to spread outside the facility. So now the World Health Organization is admitting that the COVID-19 pandemic was a failure due to the fact that they basically just believed everything that China told them. All I'm gonna say is if you got vaccinated, brother, you are cooked. And the sad part is some people were basically forced to take the vaccine because their workplace didn't allow them to go if they weren't vaccinated.
Well, if I become a punching bag, I'm a punching bag, but I am very happy to testify before any Congressional Oversight Committee. I have nothing to hide. I can explain and validate everything that I've done. So, you know, it's going to be inconvenient if they actually are out there essentially threatening to make my life miserable. But I'm going to do what I need to do, and that is cooperate fully because we have nothing to hide at all.
Under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline, based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment, I respectfully decline to answer. On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Nothing says honesty like taking the fifth, huh, Doc? Let's try something. What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie you're wearing?
On the advice of counsel,
You got rich while people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more, Brown versus Walker, 1896, when he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyers sitting behind you now shifting nervously in their chairs. They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people. But I think I know why you're doing it. It's because you don't want to answer questions. It's because you did all kinds of terrible things. It's because during the pandemic you got rich, didn't you? You got rich while people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally. Cash prizes totaling over $1 million. You did all of that during the pandemic.
therefore, although it pains me to do so, because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades-long record of cooperating with Congress, under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. Thank you.
Safe from the disease. This brings in the implications that there are other ways, just plain close contact. And given the long incubation period of this disease, we may be starting to see, as we're seeing virtually as the months go by, other groups that can be involved. And seeing it in children is really quite disturbing.
When you say other close contact, give me some examples.
Well, for example, if the close contact of a child is a household contact, perhaps there will be a certain number of cases of individuals who are just living with and in close contact with someone with AIDS or at risk of AIDS, who does not necessarily have to have intimate sexual contact or share a needle, but just the ordinary close contact that one sees in normal interpersonal relationships.
And chunks of human fetal lung that they got from aborted, almost 5-month-old human babies. They put those parts in their research mice. They disgustingly named them BLTL mice and wrote they had created a, quote, sandwich of aborted body parts in the mice. Get it, folks? BLT. A BLT sandwich. Your RML lab employees in Montana also ordered and used aborted baby body parts in their taxpayer-funded research. And emails show how they plan to use those mice for post-COVID work. NIH funded putting aborted babies' fingers and scalps off the heads of aborted babies and putting them into the backs of research mice. The scalps later grew fine baby hair in the mice. They even included those disgusting photos in their research paper that you funded. Not all of those were research on coronaviruses, but some were. Thankfully, the current NIH director has said no more of this.
Where the fuck is them people that was on that motherfucking boat? That motherfucking boat that was carrying that coronavirus? Where the fuck is them people at? Last time y'all said that they was being quarantined somewhere, we ain't heard a goddamn thing since. Where the fuck is they at? What the fuck is going on? When we get an update?
You were going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated. Yeah. Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, They lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
Thank you. Are all objections to COVID vaccinations ideological bullshit, Dr. Fauci?
No, they're not, and
Thank
that's
you.
not what I was referring to.
Well, that's exactly what you meant when you said making it hard for people to live without getting a vaccination. You affected people's ability to work, travel, be educated, to actually flourish in American society, to self-determine, as we're all given God-given rights. Shame on you.
Who the fuck do you think you were for doing that? Your advice to communities like that, to idiotic politicians who enforce those rules, arrested that mom for watching a football game with her own family outside. When that story broke, I said to myself, I cannot stand idly on the side and watch this happen. It was about 6 years ago today that I decided I'm going to give up my businesses, sell them all, run for office, run for the United States Senate. Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the fuck do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. And if my Democrat colleagues are standing there defending you, I hope the voters of the United States of America watch the clips of every one of you doting on a guy who was more interested in being a celebrity than saving American people. I will make it my mission to make certain that every single one of those Democrats who did that will see that clip over and over and over again. Because there is no defense of what you did. You may have had a 50-plus year legacy of public service, but it ends in total and complete disgrace. So let me ask you an opportunity to answer one question. Will you apologize, just apologize, to the people who you harmed through your actions? Will you say, do you have the dignity to just say you're sorry?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. The sole reason he is calling me before this committee is to get me to say something, anything, that could vindicate his repeated public pledges that I end up, in his words, quote, behind bars, unquote. Therefore, although it pains me to do so, because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades-long record of cooperating with Congress, under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. Thank you. On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer. I respectfully decline to answer. I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights, based upon my rights, based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution, under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution, under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
And it is unfortunate that you have been put in the position that you are in today. And it must be enormously frustrating to know that this hearing is designed to entrap you.